Movie guy saved me from abuser. I never thought my life would turn into something that felt like a movie scene, but sometimes life changes in ways you never expect, and mine changed in a way that slowly broke me before I even realized what was happening. It didn't start with obvious danger or loud violence, it started with something that looked like love from the outside but felt like control from the inside. At first, he was everything I thought I wanted: someone who cared too much, someone who wanted to know everything about me, someone who made me feel special because he was always paying attention, but I didn't realize that attention slowly turned into control, and control slowly turned into fear. It began with small things like asking where I was all the time, who I was with, what I was doing, and I thought that meant I mattered. I thought that meant love, but slowly I started noticing I couldn't make decisions freely anymore. Every step I took had to be explained, every delay had to be justified, every moment of independence felt like a mistake waiting to be punished emotionally. I stopped laughing freely, I stopped talking without thinking, I stopped meeting people without fear of what would happen later, and slowly I started shrinking inside my own life. My phone became something I feared because every notification felt like pressure, every call felt like judgment, and every message felt like I had done something wrong. I started living carefully, like I was walking on invisible glass that could break at any moment, and I didn't even realize when I stopped being myself. The girl who once had dreams, who once felt confident, who once felt free, slowly disappeared into someone who only existed to avoid conflict. The worst part was that I started believing this was normal, that maybe love is supposed to feel like this, maybe seriousness means control, maybe jealousy means care, but deep down I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and silently breaking every single day. One evening I couldn't take it anymore, so I stepped out just to breathe, just to escape the pressure for a moment, and I ended up sitting alone in a small cafe trying to act normal while my mind was completely falling apart inside. I remember holding my phone in my hand but not wanting to look at it because I already knew what kind of emotional weight was attached to it, and then it rang. His name appeared on the screen and my entire body reacted before my mind even processed it. My heart dropped, my hands started shaking, and I answered the call trying to sound okay even though nothing inside me was okay anymore. His voice started calm at first, but it was not peace, it was control hidden behind softness, asking questions that felt like tests, asking where I was, who I was with, why I didn't reply quickly, and no matter what answer I gave, it never felt right. Slowly his tone changed, just slightly, just enough for my body to feel danger before my mind admitted it. My chest tightened, my throat felt heavy, and tears started building in my eyes, but I kept holding them back because I had learned that crying only made things worse later. That's when I noticed him. A guy sitting across the cafe, completely normal looking, not dramatic, not flashy, just quietly observing his surroundings. I didn't pay attention to him at first because I was focused on surviving the call, trying to keep my voice steady while everything inside me was shaking. But then my voice cracked slightly, just a small break, and I think that's when he realized something was wrong. He stood up and walked toward me, and for a second I felt fear because I didn't trust anyone anymore, not even strangers, but he didn't act aggressive, he didn't sit too close, he didn't invade my space. He simply placed a glass of water on the table and softly asked, "Are you okay?" And that simple question hit me harder than anything because I had forgotten what it felt like to be asked that without judgment. I tried to say yes, but my voice didn't come out properly, and he understood more from my silence than I could explain with words. Then he said something that completely changed the direction of that moment. He said, "I don't have to stay on a call that makes me feel unsafe." And in that instant something inside me shifted because for the first time I realized I had a choice. Not permission, not approval, but a real choice. I looked at my phone and as if sensing the change, his voice on the other side became sharper, more controlling, more demanding, like he could feel that I was no longer fully under his control in that moment. And that reaction alone showed me everything I needed to understand. Without thinking too much, I hung up the call. And then silence came. But it wasn't scary silence anymore, it was space, it was air, it was something I had forgotten existed for a long time. My hands were still shaking, my breathing was uneven, and I kept apologizing out of habit, saying sorry again and again even though I had done nothing wrong, and that stranger just looked at me calmly and said I don't need to apologize. And that sentence broke something inside me because I realized how deeply I had been trained to feel guilty for everything, even for protecting my own peace. He didn't act like a hero, he didn't create drama, he didn't try to fix everything in a loud or cinematic way, he just stayed there like a normal human being who understood that something was wrong without needing the full story. And then he said something I will never forget for the rest of my life. He said, I don't look like someone who belongs in fear, I look like someone who forgot she deserves peace. And that one sentence didn't just comfort me, it woke me up. That night didn't magically fix my life because real life doesn't heal in one moment, but it became the moment everything inside me started to change. I began to see my situation differently, I began to understand how much control I had been living under, how much fear I had normalized, how much of myself I had lost without even noticing it. I realized love should not feel like fear, love should not make you silent, love should not make you question your existence, and care should never feel like control. Leaving was not instant and healing was not easy, there were days I still doubted myself, days I still felt weak, days I still wanted to go back because familiarity always feels easier than unknown freedom, but every time I thought about returning, I remembered that cafe, that glass of water, and that moment where I realized I still had a choice. Slowly I started rebuilding myself, piece by piece, learning that I was not difficult to love, I was just not meant to be controlled, learning that real love gives you freedom, not fear, learning that silence is not peace when it is forced, and learning that I deserved a life where I could breathe without permission. And maybe that stranger never thought of himself as a hero, maybe he just chose kindness at the right time, but for me that moment became the dividing line of my life, because sometimes a movie moment is not about dramatic rescue or big action, sometimes it is just a simple human being showing up at the right time, reminding you that you still have a choice, and once you remember that choice, your entire life starts to open again.